Thank you for coming. This is a great turnout. We're happy to see you all here to get some really important information about your community, and even if you're outside of Sunny Shores, we're happy to see you here as well, as a lot of this information is going to be applicable to your situation. We want to start things out by thanking the Bridge for letting us be here today. And we've got some important people. I'm going to introduce them before we do the prayer. If you're here, there's a pretty good chance he talked to you and told you to come. His name is Ernie. We're so happy he's here. Thank you, Ernie. And before we start, I guess we're going to start with the prayer.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. In case you haven't met me yet, my name is Betsy Planner with the Blessing Bag Project. And we are the ones that have been in the hub trying to coordinate everything for everybody. So I just want to say this is a great turnout. I want everybody here to know that Manatee County cares about you. And that's why everybody's here. You know, we're all in this together. Our team has been here 7 days a week for the last 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks, and it's because we all care about you. And we're going to do everything in our power to help you. Okay? I want you to understand that. So that being said, we're in the church house. I'm going to introduce my pastor, Christine Ashley, who's going to open us up with prayer, and then Ernie's going to take over.
Hi there, my husband, Pastor Lucas, and I have the honor of pastoring here at the Bridge Church. So I know many of you, we have been in your communities, and we are actually doing some things in your communities in the coming weeks, right before Thanksgiving week. So please be looking for that. Sunny Shores Paradise and Cortez, we will be in your communities the week before Thanksgiving. Just loving on y'all. But let me pray over us to just kind of calm your hearts and bring some peace into these next few moments that y'all have together. Lord Jesus, thank you for your love. God, I thank you for your constant presence through every trial, through every up and down. God, no matter where we find ourselves today, God, I pray that there would be a spirit of peace that is so tangible in this room. God, I pray over every single person who entered this room, Lord, wherever their heart is at this morning, if they are hopeless, if they are devastated, if they are angry, if they are frustrated, if they are desperate for answers. God, I pray that today that you would meet them right where they are and that they would experience your presence and your spirit in a way they've never known before, and that, Lord, you would calm their hearts. God, that you would provide answers. God, we pray for our county officials. We pray for those who are trying to help the best way they can with what is in front of them, and some of this is very unprecedented, Lord, for our community. And so I pray that we would extend grace even sometimes when we don't understand. God, I pray that there would be wisdom. I pray, Lord, for unity. I pray, Lord, for just the end result, Lord, is all of our hearts just want to help. And we just want to be able to come alongside one another. And so, Lord, would you grant wisdom and discernment to the leaders? Would you help us know how to support them? And then would you also give the leaders insight, Lord, into the lives of each one of these people who have been very, very deeply devastated by what has happened. And so, God, we ask that you make a way where there seems to be no way. We ask that you would provide where there seems to be no way to provide, because that is who you are. It's in your nature. It's you are the God who parts the seas, who holds back the waters, Lord. God, you rose Christ from the dead, and so we know that you are a God who can do all things. And so, Lord, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for each person that is here today. God, go before us and just bring unity, bring peace, and calm our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
So I did something. I want to tell you how I met Ernie. So in the beginning, everybody that was coming in knows it's a little chaotic. We were trying to get food out. We didn't really know what we were doing. So this guy walks in, this big guy walks in, and he said, "Hi, I'm Ernie. What can I do to help you?" I said, "Could you get rid of that trash out there?" And guess what he did? He came with his car. He made a phone call. I think it was to the owner of Pike Tables to see if we could use the dumpster. And that's how this started. And Ernie's been a really amazing person in the background. He doesn't like anybody to know anything about him. But he's gotten the governor's office involved, who's helped us. He's the one who ended up getting FEMA be able to come in and sit down with everybody in air conditioning and take the time to go through everyone's applications for the 2 storms. So I really, really appreciate everything Bernie's done. He's been really helpful in getting this meeting going and working with all the officials from Manatee County. So thank you, Ernie. So everybody say hi to Ernie.
Folks, good morning. It's so good to see Sunny Shore familiar faces and people from the larger Cortez area. And I so appreciate Manatee County showing that they care. We've been engaging over the last couple of weeks, and this is a key moment after these hurricanes because we need to glean understanding. You know, also not just want to hear guidelines, we want to look at solutions. And so our engagement has been very constructive in what manner federal, state, and local could all come together so that we can help our neighbors, we can strengthen one another's arms. So we think the meeting will last about 2 hours. There's a lot of information. We will give you a handout afterwards. The last part of the meeting will be a Q&A. Many of you have questions. Some have had FEMA money already drop in their account, starting repairs. Some have waited on repairs. You know, we're going to hope to bring clarity through all of these discussions today. And this is just the first of 2, right? Next Wednesday, we'll have a follow-on as well. So we really appreciate the turnout. Obviously suggests that this is an issue of urgency to us all. So thank you again, and I'll hand over to our friends in the county.
Thank you, Ernie. Good morning, folks. My name is Bill Palmer. I'm the county building official and the floodplain administrator. This past month has been, as we know it, been really difficult for everybody. You know, a lot of people lost their homes, a lot of houses were damaged. Excuse me, I'm sorry. A lot of homes were damaged, and you know, everybody wants to, you know, repair their homes and get back to, you know, as quick as possible, get their lives back, you know, as normal as possible. We want to be here to assist you in how to do that. Manatee County participates in the National Flood Insurance Program. So when you rebuild or do repairs to the homes, we have to have guidelines of how you can build, and there's regulations. So we want to make sure that, you know, you have all the knowledge you have to be able to move forward and be able to, you know, rebuild or decide, you know, which direction you want to go in. We have brought with us, have a lot of staff here from Manatee County that we brought with us to answer, you know, whatever questions that you may have. Also after the presentation, you'll have an opportunity to answer questions. We may not be able to answer specific questions, you know, based upon your needs, but you can meet with us individually, you know, after the meeting. And we're also, you know, available, you know, all the time. I mean, you can contact the county and we can make an appointment and you can come by and we can talk with you. So I just wanted to, you know, talk about that. One of the things that is everybody's concerned about is the NFIP 50% rule that everybody's kind of aware of. So we want to make sure that everybody understands it, because there's a lot of misinformation going on out there. We want to make sure that I see it myself, you know, on these various sites, and it's just incorrect, and that just gives people more anxiety. You know, like I've seen things where we're going to go in and, you know, condemn a whole, you know, mobile home park, you know, and that's just not true. We're not going to do that. You know, things like that are misinformation. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please, this is the time to ask it. So we have a bunch of people here I'd like to introduce. We have Cheryl Bagby, who's sitting to my left. She's a floodplain specialist, so she's going to go over the details of the FEMA 50% rule with you and talk about that and other things. We have Jessica Rempworth, who is the floodplain manager, and then to her left we have Florida Department of Energy Management here. That's Linda Voss. We also have FEMA reps here that are on virtual screen back there. We have Angela Ocasio from FEMA. She can talk about, individual assistance. Tammy Hansen, she's floodplain management. Molly Capot, floodplain management. Brad Pierce, external affairs. Kimberly Kipp from FEMA, she can talk about intergovernment affairs. And John Frederick, who's with the Small Business Administration. So we also have with us from the county, we have Debbie DeLeon. She's with Community and Veteran Services, so she'll be speaking, and you can ask her questions where, she can give you assistance with any help you need. I think that about covers anybody. If I miss anybody, they'll introduce themselves when they start to talk. But anyway, feel free to answer, ask any questions, and I'm going to turn this over to Cheryl now. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to make sure that it was still morning. It's been a lot of long days for everyone after these disasters, and everyone is struggling. So I am here to talk about the floodplain regulations for unincorporated Manatee County and what that means for rebuilding. So there are federal, state, and local regulations that state if a home is damaged, 50% the value of the structure, or if it is improved, 50% the value of the structure, then the entire structure must be brought to current flood compliance. This is more commonly known unofficially as the FEMA 50% rule. What that means is if you sustain damage and the cost to bring your home back meets or exceeds 50% the value of the structure, then the entire structure has to come up to current flood compliance, which includes elevating the structure. So you do have the option to repair and elevate. You also have the option to demo and build new. There are options. But if it exceeds that 50%, then you must comply with the local, state, and federal regulations. We've had our disaster assessment team go out into the communities. If they've gotten access to the inside, great. A lot of times they were just unable to get access inside. What they did is they took a look at the buildings and they did a data collection of how much observed damage was to the building. They would look and say, oh, the floor is 100% damaged. The electrical might be 50%. And they took that data and brought it back to us, and then we're going to calculate that to see how substantially damaged that is. That is just based on observation data. If you know what it costs to repair your home, you have to apply through the county, because this whole community, Sunny Shores, Paradise Bay, Cortez, you're all in a flood zone. Therefore, you're all subject to this 50% rule. So even if you're in a mobile home, there's still an application to build back. You don't have to apply for anything to tear down. Take out those contaminated materials. Take out the drywall. That's okay. But before you put anything back, you have to submit an application before anything, so that we know whether or not you need to elevate your home. Don't go spending all of this money, because you might be repairing something that ultimately has to be elevated and cost you a lot more. Now, we do get the values of the home from the property appraiser. If you go onto the property appraiser's website, type in your address, it is currently labeled FEMA market value. It is not a value that FEMA issued. I want to clarify. It is a value that has been calculated for the structure. That is your structure value. It's not the improvement value, it's not the just market value, it's that line item in red. That is the value of the structure. So if you meet or exceed 50% of that, the entire structure has to come into compliance. A lot of people say if it's a mobile home, we usually don't need permits for repairs. That is because mobile homes are not subject to Florida Building Code. It is still not subject to Florida Building Code. However, it is subject to floodplain regulations. Therefore, that 50% rule still applies. You can take stuff out, but you have to apply before building back. So if you are doing repairs in just the mobile home, the original mobile home, you're going to go either, you can come into our office, we're in downtown Bradenton, or you can apply online for what we have called a storm mobile home review. You'll need to submit paperwork with costs and everything like that so we can evaluate. And then if you're under the 50%, where you sign off, say approved, go ahead, do your repairs. If you're over the 50%, we'll tell you what your options are from there. But there is that application for if it's only the mobile home. Now, if you have any additions, if you added on a family room, if you have a lanai, if you have any additions to the original mobile home, you're now subject to Florida Building Code, and that goes through the regular permitting process. These applications don't necessarily have to be submitted by you. Now, if you're doing your own work, you do have to apply, but if you have a contractor, they are supposed to apply. They're the licensed people doing the work. They're the ones who should be submitting this paperwork. Give me just a second. Sorry, I'm playing off cold and my throat's a little scratchy and dry. Now, as I mentioned before, mobile homes are not subject to Florida Building Code, therefore you usually don't need permits when you improve them inside the original mobile home. Therefore, the value on the property appraiser, you may not think, reflects the value of your home, pre-damaged home. You have the right to get a private appraisal. You can get a private appraisal for the pre-damaged value of your home, and we will take the higher of the two. Now, the appraisal needs to be, the intended use needs to be for the FEMA 50% substantial improvement, substantial damage. Manatee County has to be one of the intended users so that we can use it to evaluate. And it is not a cost comparison approach. It should be reproduction minus physical deterioration. And so it's a little bit different than your typical real estate appraisal in the fact that we don't compare how much someone's willing to pay for a mobile home. It's based on what the actual value of that structure is. But we are happy to answer questions about that, the process. If appraisers have questions, we can answer those as well. We do have questions at the end. But yes, feel free to take out all of your damaged materials, but you do have to apply and get approved before building back. That is probably the most important thing before anything else. Yeah, we'll go over all the what is and what isn't. When you apply, we do need a contract or a cost breakdown. If you're doing it yourself, we need the materials that you're going to be getting so that we can get an accurate assessment of what this is actually going to cost. Honestly, if you take a screenshot of your Home Depot or Lowe's shopping cart, we will take that. If you're not computer literate, go to Lowe's or Home Depot with the supplies you may need. with an idea of the supplies you may need. They will create an estimate of the materials. We just need documentation validating the values to repair your home. Labor is also counted. We have determined for homeowners at a rate of about $30 an hour for labor. That's what you need to calculate for labor. It may sound high, but I was in the lobby the other day and I had a guy next to me say, oh, that's nothing. Some contractors charge $85 an hour. So this is an average, a lowball average of what potential labor could cost. Donated materials. You also have to assign a value to that. So again, whether you go on to Home Depot or Lowe's, or say you were given a bunch of 2x4s, you need to find the value of that, because all of this counts towards the 50%. And all of this is needed for us to be able to make that determination of whether or not you elevate your home. But the whole point of elevating is so that you don't have to go through this again. It's so that you are more protected against these storms, because they are happening stronger and more frequently. And we may have not been hit this bad in the past, but that's not to say that we can't get hit like this again next year. Honestly, hurricane season's still not over. Anything can happen, so this is all to build back better and more resilient.
Did you provide the place that you can apply besides coming into Manatee County? You said we can apply for this as well.
Yes, mymanatee.org, so mymanatee.org is the county website. The easiest thing is just to do permits in the search field, and it'll bring you to the online portal where you sign up for an account and log in to apply. And that is how you can apply through we are paperless, so any documents that you bring into the office, if you do opt to come in, we'll be handing right back to you, because we're paperless, electronic organization. But storm damage repairs are being prioritized. Our team is very short-staffed right now. We have a lot of applications coming in, plus we're out in the community doing this disaster recovery work. So make sure that any application that you do submit, it clearly states storm damage, hurricane, something, so that it gets prioritized, so that we can look at it sooner and get it back to you so you guys can start working on your homes. So a turnaround time for storm damage is a few days. I don't have an exact number of days because it varies based on the volume. But most other permits, just in comparison, are taking several weeks. So we're trying to turn the storm damage around in a matter of days instead of weeks. We're trying to prioritize those who have been affected by the storms. I'm going to take this last question, and then we're going to try to hold questions for the end, because my voice is going to give out soon. Someone else is going to help with the questions. For most storm damage, the fees are waived for most permit types. So for repairs, for mobile home reviews, for roofs, the fees have been waived for those permit types. So there will not be fees for most storm repairs. And with that, I believe the next speaker we have is actually, we're going to turn it over to some of our virtual people from FEMA, and we have Tammy Hansen and Molly Caput? Sorry if I said that wrong.
Yeah, good morning. This is Tammy Hansen. As Bill mentioned, Manatee County is a participating community in the National Flood Insurance Program. And when the community joined the program, they agreed to adopt and enforce floodplain management requirements. And what that allows is then the availability of flood insurance, again, through the National Flood Insurance Program. So as they've mentioned, going out and doing the assessment teams are out in the field, collecting the data about the observed damages. And so one of the things that is misunderstood through a lot of the media and such is they believe that the state or FEMA is coming in to do these determinations, and that's not actually how the program works. As Bill mentioned, there are Cheryl mentioned, right, there are federal, state, and local requirements. And so the communities adopted those regulations, and it's through the enforcement of the local regulations where the substantial damage determinations are made. And so they can only be made by a community official. The state can't make them. FEMA cannot make them. Your insurance adjuster can't make that determination. And so there's a whole list of who can't. But if you just remember, who can is the local community official. So that's going to be your building official as well as the floodplain staff working together. They identify who ultimately makes that decision, but it is made, again, at that local community level. And we just really want to stress that we're here to provide technical assistance to the communities as they're going through this, both FEMA and the state. Linda Voss is there present in the room from the FDIM, and we are here to, like I said, support the communities as they're going through these challenging times and to provide any type of technical assistance they need as they're working through processes or have questions that we can assist with. Thanks. Molly, did you have anything to add?
Nope, that's great. Thanks.
Real quick, I just realized something I forgot to mention that is quite important. As Tammy mentioned, with the community regulations and everything, one thing that we do have is with a 50% rule, we have a 1-year cumulative, which means if there have been any permits pulled within the last and closed within the last 365 days, or that are older and still open, that counts. That work counts towards your 50%. So if you had an AC change out or anything like that in the last year or so, that may count towards your 50%. And this is part of our local ordinance for higher standards that we implemented with a program with FEMA. So this is something that the community adopted in our ordinance. So please, I just want to make everyone, because I forgot to mention that earlier, we do have that 1-year cumulative. So you do have to be mindful of that, because any work you've had done in the last year or any potential work that you are doing in the future, you have that 1-year cumulative where if you hit or exceed that 50%, you have to bring it up to current floodplain regulations.
Okay, so our next speaker is going to be Brad Pierce with FEMA.
Yeah, good morning, y'all. I don't have any specific comments, but I do want to say that we have subject matter experts online from several federal programs and want to answer any questions y'all may have. And if for some reason we're unable to, we'll get back to you on anything that stumps us. But we got a lot of people on here and want to help. So if y'all have any questions, please reach out.
Okay, thank you, Brad. FEMA Intergovernment Affairs.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'll just echo what Brad said. We are here to support and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. The next speaker will be Millie Diaz, and she's also with FEMA, and she's with individual assistance.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Millie Diaz, or Emilia, as you can see on your screens. I am representing the individual and household program from FEMA. The FEMA individual and household programs provide financial assistance to eligible individuals and households who have uninsured or underinsured necessary expenses that need as a result of the disaster. The individual assistance, or IHP, which is the individual and household programs, is not a substitute for insurance and cannot compensate all of the losses caused by the disaster. It is intended to meet the basic needs and supplements disaster recovery efforts. The individual assistance program has two specific provisions. One of them is for housing assistance, and the other one is for other need assistance. Our housing assistance can provide some money if you're eligible for rental assistance that you can use, obviously, for finding rental resources if you're displaced from your home. Lodging expenses reimbursement, so to reimburse emergency lodging expenses such as hotel, motels that you incurred when you were displaced from your home because of the disaster. We also can help with home repairs or replacements for those houses that need to be repaired or were destroyed because of the disaster. Accessibility needs, which could be help replace or build anything that makes your house accessible, like a ramp or a pave to get through your main entrance. Privately owned roads, bridges, and docks. We also, our housing assistance program can also help with hazard mitigation monies. And these are specific measures for make your home stronger and more durable. Like we can make sure that your furnace is higher if you need to put it higher. We also have our other need assistance, which is where the famous $750 or $770 are. Those are upfront and flexible payments per household for essential needs like food, water, baby formula, breastfeeding supplies, medications, and other serious needs related assistance. It's not for everybody, but you can apply for it, and if you didn't get it for any reason, you can always appeal that decision with us. Under other need assistance, we also have displacement assistance for those that cannot return to their house, child care assistance to help with expenses or increases in child care expenses because of the disaster, clean and sanitize money, which helps you with minimal damage caused by the disaster to prevent additional losses and potential health hazards or concerns. We can also help with funeral expenses, group floodplain insurance, medical expenses that are due to disaster related, and transportation. So those are the two big buckets that individual assistance, again, housing assistance and other need assistance that FEMA can help individuals with. Usually the most important part is obviously that everybody registers for FEMA. We have 3 disasters that are going for the state of Florida. Those that have damages for Debbie, the registration deadline is coming up. You need to register before November the 12th. For those that have damages because of Helene, the deadline for registration is November the 27th. And for those who had damages due to Milton, the registration deadline is December 11th. All these deadlines are subject to change if the state requests to extend them. So, but as of right now, we have this November the 12th for Debbie, November the 27th for Helene, and December the 11th for Milton. If you have not registered for disaster assistance, those are the dates that you have to register before. You can register online through disasterassistance.gov. You can call our FEMA 800 number, which is 1-800-621-3362, or you can visit one of our disaster recovery centers that are open around the area. I want to stress that usually after you fill out the application, it takes 7 to 10 days, maybe a little bit longer, for you to receive an inspection, if that is what is the next step in your case. One thing that is extremely important for everybody to understand is that if you did answer yes to any of the questions for the insurance, because FEMA does not duplicate benefits, you must go to your insurance first. Your insurance is going to send someone out, and it's going to make 1 or 2 decisions. You're either going to be ineligible for the losses that you have, or you're going to be eligible. So they either send you a denial letter or a settlement letter. So we're going to need either or in order for us to process your case. Again, because we do not duplicate benefits that the insurance may cover for you. So every decision that FEMA makes is appealable. So if we make a decision on your case and you are not satisfied with that decision, you have 60 days from the date of that letter that you received to appeal the decision. You can upload that piece of paper that comes with the decision letter through our FEMA app, or you can take it to one of the disaster recovery centers. Sometimes the decisions are made based on the lack of information that we have, meaning maybe when you fill out the application, or maybe when we fill out the application for you, we made a mistake on your name, and now your name doesn't match your social security number. So you must provide something that can clear that up, either a social security number, card, or your driver's license. Sometimes we need for you to prove occupancy, and you have to bring us or upload a electric bill, a water bill, or a gas bill that says that you were occupying your residence, whether you're a renter or whether you're an owner, to prove that you were living in the house at the time of the disaster. So sometimes it's just simple things like that that we might need to continue to process your case. So it's extremely important that you read those letters and understand them. If you by any chance don't understand those letters, make sure you go to one of the recovery centers and we'll help you out as much as we can with the information that we have on your case. Okay? Let me see what else I have. We also have other programs that are not housing or personal property. We have what is called community services programs, and these are some programs that we have along with the state, like disaster legal services. So this provides free legal help for survivors that have issues with their landlords, that they have issues with, maybe they were renting a room and now that person staying or kicked them out. So these are legal services that FEMA is paying through the Young Lawyer Associations that are free of charge for you guys if there's a need. Right now, Disaster Legal Services is it's up and working for the state of Florida. Their number is 833-514-2940. Again, this is for Disaster Legal Services, 833-514-2940. We also have what is called disaster unemployment assistance, and this provides temporary benefits to individuals who employment or self-employment has been lost or interrupted as a result of the major disaster. You can apply for these benefits through www.floridajobs.org. Again, this is unemployment assistance, and it's through www.floridajobs.org, or you can call their customer service line at 1-800-385-3920 for people who have lost or have interruptions of work because of the disaster. And last but not least, this has been really hard on a lot of people. And, they have lost everything that they have worked all their lives. So we also have what is called crisis counseling. And crisis counseling right now is being managed by the Florida Department of Children and Families. And they have assistance help you cope with these events that have been so hard on you guys. Their disaster distress helpline is available for everybody, and it's 1-800-985-5990. And again, this is in a nutshell what our programs do. I'm sure that you guys have more specific questions. We'll take those questions till the end. I do want to stress out that if these questions are specifically related to people's case, I may have to take those separately because of your privacy. I will not be able to discuss those in public, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions in a general stage if that is the case. Again, my name is Millie Diaz, and I thank you so much. And if there's anything I can do at the end, I'm sure we'll answer any questions. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Millie. We appreciate all that information. Next speaker will be John Frederick. He's with the Small Business Administration.
Good morning, everyone. First, thank you for having me. And next, I want to share a few things with you. First, if you have a pen or your smartphone, please take that out. I'm going to give you the contact information for the Small Business Administration. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. First, let me give you our phone number, which is 1-800-695-2955. I'll repeat that one more time. 1-800-659-2955. And if you need to go to our website, it is www.lending.sba.gov. Just in case I don't answer your questions and you step out and you realize that your question wasn't answered, you can always give us a call, or you can also go to one of the disaster recovery centers, because we are there with FEMA at what we call the DRCs. Just a brief overview of the loan. I want to start by, I've been doing this for a number of years, and one of my colleagues brought up a great point yesterday in the meeting. One of the advantages to having an SBA loan or applying for the SBA loan is getting yourself into the system. You may realize, or you may say that, well, why do I need a loan because I'm not a business? Our loans are open to homeowners, renters, businesses, and nonprofits. So most of the loans during the time of disasters are going to go to homeowners and renters. So if I go back to Hurricane Sandy, the state of New York came out with programs after the fact. And one of the criteria of if people were eligible for that was if they applied for an SBA loan. So if you applied, you were eligible, and it was always good to get yourself in the system. Some of the caveats of the loan are that if you apply for the loan, you're under no obligation to take out the loan. The other caveat that I like the most is that the loan has a 12-month period where there is no interest and no payments. So I kind of encourage everyone to use this loan as your safety net. If you need the money, if it's there. If you don't need the money, you can say, hey, I don't need the money. Or if you do need more money, you can always request money. So what is the SBA disaster loan about? It's for those to cover anything for anyone who has no insurance or underinsured. So if you meet that criteria, part of what can be financed too, I know people are getting into discussions with their insurance company as far as deductibles, and deductibles can be rather expensive. That can be financed through the SBA. So at this point, if you have insurance or if you don't have insurance, you might be eligible for an SBA loan. So how much money can you borrow? Well, for homeowners, for their real estate, it's going to be $500,000. For your personal property, it's going to be $100,000. For businesses, for physical damage, it will be $2 million. And for EIDL, which is Economic Injury Disaster Loan, it will be $2 million as well. The terms can be as long as 30 years. We try to make things affordable for you because it is a subsidized loan through the federal government. The interest rates are very competitive at 2.83% right now. So if you fit in these criteria, let me, before I forget, another caveat about the program, and part of our personal property, if you didn't have, is that we will cover a car under your personal property. So if you didn't have full coverage on your car, you may be eligible. Also, too, people that have Airbnbs or second homes, not second homes, but investment properties, we consider that a business. So for those conditions, you may be eligible for a loan. Once again, the deadlines to apply for if you're impacted by Hurricane Debbie, it is November 12th, November 27th for Hurricane Helene, and December 11th for Hurricane Milton. Once again, if you have any questions, I'll be here. My colleague, Mr. Morales, is here as well. And if you find that you forgot a question that you come up with later, feel free to give us a call. I'll give you that number again, which is 1-800-659-2955. And I think Mr. Ricky wants to interject here.
Hi, I'm Rick Morales. I'm the colleague of John Frederick. I want to add that on the chat, I added a link for a grant for the businesses. That's until November 17th to apply. So that's up to $5,000. That's for businesses. I also on the chat the addresses of the Business Recovery Center and Disaster Recovery Center on Manatee, the dates and times, so you can apply with the SBA in any of those centers. So those are very good resources. So yeah, I wanted to add that.
Thank you, Rick. And let me add some things about our economic injury loans. Those are working capital loans. So if you're a business and let's say you're used to bringing in, let's say, $1,000 a day, and you've been offline because of the hurricane and your customers are no longer in service, you need working capital. So that is a working capital loan. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, please give us a call or stop by the DRC, which is Disaster Recovery Center, And that concludes my presentation, subject to any questions.
Great. Thank you, John and Richard. We appreciate it. Our next speaker is actually present. It's Linda Voss, and she's with the Florida Division of Energy Management. Emergency management.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say that I am here present, and again, I'm here for support for the community and the county. If you find that you have any questions, or if the community has something come up, they usually call me and we work through any issues. So I will be here until this is over, and I know they're going to have more meetings like this one coming up, and I should be able to attend all the meetings. So I just want to let you know that the state is involved in this, along with the community, county, and federal with FEMA. So I just want to know that you're not alone. We do know what's going on out here, and we're trying our best to assist. Thank you.
Okay, folks, at this time we concluded with all of our speakers, so I think we'll open it up to the floor, and you can ask whatever questions you'd like. Please step up to the front there, and Casey will help you out with the mic. Thank you.
Just so everybody virtually will be able to hear, everybody will be able to hear everybody's question. We'll just form a line right here. Step up, feel free to ask your individualized questions. And anybody on FEMA on the virtual side, if you hear a question that you can answer, just put your hand up, and we'll make sure that we give you that time to answer that question. Just come on over, guys. Who wants to go first? There you go.
I just need clarity on the valuation, whether it's the FEMA market value or the dwelling value.
It's going to be, it's incorrectly stated on the property appraiser website. It's going to be in the big red. Yes, it's FEMA market value, although that's incorrect, because what they have done, property appraiser has done for us, is they have taken and done the math for us. Normally, we will look at the dwelling value, we'll remove outbuildings, and we'll add a 15%, because we know that property appraiser kind of goes with a lower estimate of structure value, because it keeps your taxes down. So, but for the market value that's on there in red, that's going to have all that math done, so that you can just look at it and know what the structure value is.
So is it 50% of that plus 15?
There's no, it's all the math has been done.
Oh,
So
that's
on
the
the
number.
on the property appraiser website, all the math has been done for us, because it's already been done with the 15% for homeowners. Like, commercial properties don't get that. And they change it every year, and so that's why they have done that for us, because we have to get a notice from them on what that multiplier is, what it's called. And they do that for us. They've done that for us because there's so many questions about structures values. So that's clear right there. So if you have a structure and it's worth $100,000, then you can only go up to 49%. It's not 50%. It's 50% or over that kicks you into the substantial improvement zone. And honestly, when we evaluate these estimates and we make a determination, we do inform the homeowner, whoever's talking to us, that you might want to save a little contingency, because of when you're cumulative, you don't, if you go all the way up to the edge, one, you can't do anything for another year after that permit or that record closes. So you want to, in case your AC breaks down or something of that sort, we wouldn't be able to help you fix that. Is that clear?
Make that clear.
Okay.
The red, 50% or 100% value?
The red on the property appraiser website is the value of the structure. All right? Yes.
So then we are taking 50% of that red number?
Yes. Because it's the structure and the structural loan that has been evaluated. Land, outbuildings, pools, lanais are all removed from
from that because it is the structure and the structural load that is being improved upon.
Have you looked at those numbers?
Yes, ma'am.
They're nuts. Some of them are like
Well, if you-
$4,000 or $5,000.
If you don't agree with it, that's why you do have the opportunity to get a private appraisal and let us know what.
You get paid for that as well. So I hear you. That's, so you're saying that who came out and determined that
An appraiser, it's a property appraiser.
from the county?
It's property appraisers, it's on the property appraiser website. It's the property appraisers that.
When was the last time they did an appraisal?
Right, that's something that you have to discuss with the property appraiser.
Because they have probably appraised in years and years, right?
I,
Just popped up. Don't realize that. That little red note just popped up.
Yeah, so that number did just pop up. It popped up about a week ago because the value that we were using before, if you go onto the property appraiser's website and go onto the and download the property card, there's a line item called the dwelling value. And that was the value that we were using before, plus a multiplier as determined by the property appraiser. Now, these are all values by the property appraiser, not by the flood department. So because it was embedded in the property card and you had to download it and all that other stuff, they took the multiplier, did the math for us, and put it so that it was more readily available for the public. So that is a number we have always. That's something that they put on. This is their website. That's how they put it on there. The property appraiser. The Manatee County property appraiser put it on like that. So because we use it for the FEMA substantial improvement, substantial damage, that might be why, is because we were using it for that math. But a lot of that is the property appraiser's side of things, and we are not privy to their process or anything like that. No.
Will they be here next week?
No. Because they are not part of disaster recovery. If you have questions on their process, you can reach out to the property appraiser.
Yeah, and if you have a question, it's not doing any good because they can't hear if we're not asking questions to the microphone. So we want to be sure that if they've got an answer, they're able to address it. So if you have a question, please do not shout it from the audience. Please get in line. There's people waiting patiently here.
Okay, I have two things. On the FEMA rules, if you accept money from FEMA, what are the rules about? We hear all kind of different things. FEMA has told us that we could use it whatever we want, and we asked if we're going to need flood insurance in the future, and they said no. So is that true or not?
We're deferring to Molly, Millie, if she's available, please. Millie?
I believe you. So if you're talking about individual assistance, that's Millie. Or if you're talking about flood insurance, National Flood Insurance Program, that would be Tammy. Can you clarify what FEMA money is?
Is that a requirement if we accept FEMA money? That we need to get insurance, flood insurance in the future, and that if we sell our house, anybody has to keep that insurance on the house? We're hearing all kind of things.
Okay, so that's the FEMA individual assistance. So I'll turn that over to Millie.
Millie.
Hi, good morning. Can you repeat the question as it was really?
Okay. On the FEMA rule, if we accept FEMA money, what kind of requirements does FEMA have in the future? Do we have to have flood insurance? We heard it was 3 years after we need to get it. And if we sell our house, they have to have it, keep it. Is that true or not? Because we had talked to FEMA people in the park, and they said that was not true. So we need to have a clarification on that.
Okay, Zohei, can you help me out with that one?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Millie. Good afternoon, everyone. Suhai Beltran from Individual Assistance. The answer to that question is that it will depend, right? it will depend on the type of damages that you have in the home and whether or not they are related to flood zones A, B, or W. Now, if that's the case, and you receive assistance for flood damages, for either for home repair or for essential personal property, yes, you might have now a requirement to have flood insurance in your home. The first premium is paid by FEMA. FEMA will take care of it for 3 years, and after that, you will have that requirement in your home that might affect any future eligibility for FEMA programs, specifically if you have flood damages. And I want to stress that it is for flood damages. If you have any other kind of damages related to wind and rain, then you might not have the flood insurance requirement, and your eligibility will not be affected in the future.
So
Does that answer the question?
So let me clarify. You're saying that in 3 years we have to have flood insurance for the house. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you said?
I will have to look at your specific case to verify the flood zone and to verify if you have that requirement based on the flood zone of your home and based on what was approved. But if you did, let's say you did, after 3 years, yes, you will have that requirement in your home to have flood insurance. You can go, of course, you can add to that the initial insurance that we cover will cover the same amount. It will be similar to what the FEMA program will cover. But you can increase that coverage if you choose to do so through an insurance program.
Okay, because we heard the insurance companies aren't writing insurance in the state of Florida anymore. So FEMA is writing flood insurance, is that what you're saying? We can't get it from FEMA? Is FEMA writing insurance in Florida? Okay, is that right?
I didn't get the last sentence. Oh, okay, Molly, you will get that one.
Yeah, the federal government underwrites flood insurance written through the National Flood Insurance Program, and we are not pulling out of Florida to underwrite flood insurance.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, my other question is, I had asked earlier about appliances. Is that included in the 50% rule, like stoves, refrigerators, washers, dryers?
It depends on how I look at it. If it's a built-in appliance, you can't take it out and put it in a truck. If you can take it out and put it in a truck, it's not a built-in appliance.
Okay, so that's not included in the 50% rule, is what you're saying, right?
If you can take it out and put it in a truck, it's, yes,
Okay.
correct. If it's a plug and play, correct, and it's not built in or part of the structure. You know, some stoves are built into the cabinets, or microwaves are built in, that's a built-in. Or the refrigerator is built into the cabinetry. That's a part of your physical structure.
First of all, thank you for doing this. We appreciate it. We know you're here to help, not against us. Thank you. And obviously, thank you, Rich. Just a couple of questions. Just an affirmation. Residential is treated the same as commercial, correct? Regardless?
Yes, for substantial damage and substantial improvement, correct.
Okay, and then as far as the appraisal, we're talking about an appraisal. Must this be done by a licensed appraiser or someone else that can offer that is licensed to do an opinion of value on a dwelling, such as?
We only take Florida licensed appraisers.
General appraisers,
Yes.
okay. And then does profit, so I'm working on a project, I'm a project manager. I have a bid from a contractor. They have in a contingency fund in their bid. You're looking at their bid, their estimates, right? That's what you're looking
Okay,
at.
so this is for, you're applying for a permit, is that what you're saying? That
Well,
and
yeah.
we're looking at the damage compared to?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, applying for a permit. In most commercial permits, there is a contingency fund. There are wages for, not labor, but wages for profit. In other words, it's called cost plus. So we have cost, which includes labor, material, everything that goes in it. And then the contractor, who's allowed to, makes a profit on top of that. Is the profit included in that?
It's,
Yes? That's going to be a tough one.
yeah.
Also, dealing with the amount of homelessness we're going to see from this is a big issue. Housing is a big issue, right? But what we're all talking about is
Yes.
you're not gonna be able to have a place to live. And the cost of construction is gonna be insane. How much leeway are you seeing right now in Manatee? Because we know what FEMA rules are, right? It's like the IRS, this is what it is. But I've been told that working with the county on an individual basis, sometimes there's a little more, I don't know if it's sympathetic or anything. Is that just not true?
That's not true. We follow our ordinance to a T. And we have our floodplain ordinance is online, yes.
Okay.
And it's
So
always been there.
Sounds like we need to talk to Charlie Hackney's office and say, thanks for saving us money all this time, but we need help. So, yeah, okay, that's awesome. And again, thank you guys so much for being here.
We can't vary anyway from our ordinance. It's been there since this, like the last ordinance we had was in, I think we updated it, it was 2021. And part of that updating was because of the, was mobile homes actually being elevated, like all the rest of the structures that need to be elevated when they're in a flood zone.
Right.
So it's always been online, and all of this information has always been there.
So the last but not least, the cleanup. We see cleanup portion, right? So we have a house, you're cutting 48 inches of drywall out, you're removing all the debris, kitchen cabinets, all that stuff. If there's a cost related to that because you had to hire somebody to do it, you're not physically able to do it, is that cost counted in 50/50?
No, the removal of the contaminated is not included in the substantial damage and substantial improvement regulation, and permits are not included if this was
architecture and stuff like that's not included.
Correct.
But my point is,
Plans.
you hire somebody to do it, their bid includes, they say we're gonna cost $100,000 to rip everything out and put it back, for example. 50,000 of that is rip out. Right, 50,000 is rip out, 50,000 is put back. We're looking at 50,000 to put back, not 50,000 to rip out, even though it's in the permit for demo.
As long as it's clearly notated.
Yeah.
This was demolition cost items.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Afternoon. Again, thank you guys for being here. A couple questions.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to correct Jessica, but the cost to remove damaged materials is included.
Oh.
Not mucking out the house or cleaning the floors, but if you're cutting drywall and removing, yes, it is included in the cost.
Even if it's contaminated for safety and for safety reasons?
Yes.
Is that only?
Not mucking out, not bleaching floors, but anytime you're demoing, it's included, and the list of things that are included are in our substantial improvement, substantial damage desk reference. That's also available online. It's FEMA publication 750, but it does include demolition costs to remove damaged items.
How is that being evaluated? Is that only if cost was incurred, as the gentleman just spoke about, or is that also an imaginary labor cost attached to that?
I don't understand the question.
So we were being told if we're going to do work that is an imaginary labor cost of $30 per hour. Is that also attached to the demo cost?
Apparently so.
If there's sweat equity, like most people here, you probably roll up their sleeves and get to work. There is actually no cost. Why are we adding an imaginary cost that does not exist?
Like if you can do the work yourself, why do you have to add the cost to it? Because it's part of the value of the improving the structure.
But I think that's the reasoning, right? So if you go to buy some food at the grocery store, you look for sales, right? So we're going to do it the cheapest way we can. One of that is doing the work yourself and doing the sweat equity. So why is there an imaginary cost that truly does not exist attached?
Because we have to put some type of value on it.
Why $30 an hour?
And $30 an hour is the average cost of most laborers.
I'm going to charge my mother nothing. So why is there a cost?
Because the cost, the value. It's not the physical work that you're doing. It's the value of improving the structure that we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. Otherwise, it's, that's...
But that value's not there. It's zero. The value's zero. So can I put a zero next to labor?
No, you're required by our regulations to put a value on that. The homeowner, of course, or whoever's doing the work for free, you're going to benefit from free labor because you're not incurring that cost. But to determine whether or not you are substantially damaged for figuring out, substantial damage, that we need to put a fair labor value on your labor. And what we came up with is $30 an hour, which is actually, that's kind of low because, if you hire an electrician, it's probably more than $30 an hour.
Okay.
So that's why we do that.
Okay. Okay, so who is determining the amount of hours of work needed to be done? And is that also, again, making sure to clarify here, that's applied to the demo as well? And who's evaluating that process?
That process is evaluated by the county.
I'm a fast worker. I mean, it's
Say-
gonna take me an hour.
Well, let's put it this way, I mean, we don't, we look at it, I mean, and we see if it's reasonable. You know, we've been doing this a while, I've been doing this a while, I've been in construction my whole life. You know, our floodplain department, they've been doing this a long time, so we have an idea of what it takes to do certain things. And if it's reasonable, we're not going to, you know, nitpick somebody for an hour or 2 hours. You know, but if it just seems unreasonable, then we may come back and question it. But we just want to, you know, fair labor time that's going to be, you know, needed to do the work.
Okay, so on a system, and has to make sense as you look at it. Also, to clarify, because of the hesitation, skepticism, and a lot of confusion on the money, if someone fills an application to FEMA and accepts the money, for one is we are going to be required now, no matter the dollar amount, is it, if it's $1 or does it have to trigger the 50% rule, or are we definitely required, if you take any amount of money from FEMA, required to have insurance, they'll cover it for 3 years, and then we have to carry it on after that?
That's probably a FEMA question.
FEMA, you there? Millie?
No, they gave up.
Yeah, it sounds like it's most likely the same as the other question. If you are if you have a requirement because of the type of zone that your house is located in, and we pay for the 3 first years of the insurance, it is a responsibility for you to carry on with that insurance, because if years after that you get some damages due to flood, you will not be eligible for any FEMA assistance if the damages are due to flood insurance.
Okay, so there's a lot of ifs in that. So I'm in flood zone A, I take $10,000 in FEMA money. Am I required to have insurance? Or can I forego the insurance and just the next time around, I'm not eligible for money? Can you clarify that?
Hello? Millie?
So hey, I still think that if they do use the money, the requirement's still there.
Yes, you're correct, yes. And if the assistance from FEMA is approved under, for example, one of these events, and you are in flood zone A, you will have the requirement and the insurance, GFIP paid or flood insurance paid for the 3 years, and yes, you will carry on that requirement.
Okay.
We're talking specifically about flood damages and assistance towards your home, repair of your home, or towards essential personal property. These requirements doesn't carry to any other type of FEMA assistance, and by that I mean medical expenses, transportation, moving and storage. I mean, we have other type of assistance that is not affected by this.
Okay, so you take money from FEMA, you are required to have insurance based on your flood zone. Flood zone A would be required. If you filled out the application and now refuse the money and do not accept it, is there any ramifications for that? Are you now required to have any flood insurance?
Ramifications, no. And yes, certainly that's something that could be done. You complete your FEMA registration, you are approved, you return that assistance or return that check, and that requirement will not be in your home.
Okay. For anyone else in the panel, are there any other strings attached or requirements other than flood insurance if you accept FEMA assistance? What's not agreed?
Yeah, so that's FEMA assistance, that's different than our local regulations. The 50% rule and everything, that's regardless of that.
Right.
Insurance is regardless of that. This is our local regulations. So it has nothing to do with what money you may get from FEMA, whether or not you have insurance. This is an across-the-board regulations that we're discussing.
What is that regulation? What are you talking about?
The 50%?
I got that, 50-50. So we understand that. So what are you saying? There's something about insurance attached to that?
No, I'm saying it's absolutely unrelated.
I'm not talking about the 50-50. What I'm asking is there any additional strings attached if someone accepts the FEMA money?
We have nothing to do with that.
I know. So I'm asking the FEMA people. Anyone else on the panel for FEMA, are there any other strings or requirements attached other than the insurance we just discussed if someone accepts the money?
No, there's not. If you accept the money, obviously the requirement of your insurance will carry on. And if you decide to return the money, the requirement is no longer there.
So is it just the assistance for the dwelling construction? Or what if someone accepted the $750 initially given? Personal? Is there differences in the type of money that we're accepting?
There is. So the 770 or 750, it's only, it's emergency money, so that it's upfront and it could be used. It has nothing to do with the requirements of the flood zone, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so that initial check, if someone accepted that and cashed it, they're okay. They're not going to be any requirements attached to that.
Correct.
Okay. Personal assistance, is that attached to personal assistance? So I know you said not for medical. Does that mean personal assistance?
For the personal, yes, but not for medical, funeral, dental, transportation. That it's because transportation has their own insurance, so that is not there. But for personal property and for housing assistance, yes.
Okay, personal property, housing assistance triggers the insurance requirement. Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
I guess my couple questions is that I'm only probably going to have $2,500 in my place to fix it. Because I have no mechanical stuff that got hit. Do you even need a permit for that?
Yes, we have a record online. It's called, and what Cheryl was talking about earlier is that you can go online, you can bring your information into the office at 112 Manatee Avenue West, and if it's a mobile home, we will require what we call a storm mobile home record. And if your structure is only sustaining $2,500 worth of work to put it back the way it was pre-storm damage, then that's great. You're still going to have to go apply for the record so we can keep track of what's going on out in the flood zone.
Because basically, I have window air conditioners, they're up high, they didn't get touched. I did lose my refrigerator and my stove, but it only came in about 12 inches or so inside. And so I basically buzzed around with the paneling out so high, just pulled out the insulation and putting that back.
We can review all this under the record. That's why we created the storm mobile home record, is so that we can look at your individual situation and look at the individual money that you want to put back into the structure and that particular structure. Everybody's looked at individually.
Well, and do you need a permit for any of that?
It's called an SMH record.
Just to make a record of it?
Yes, it's required because you're not liable by the Florida Building Code, but you are liable to local and federal state regulations in floodplain.
Okay, and one other question, which is probably a little off beat, if for any reason it just didn't seem reasonable to fix the mobile home, are you able to pull it out and bring the motorhome in? We own the land. What was an RV park?
Yes.
Yeah. Was an RV park and put it.
That would be a question that you probably want to contact our zoning department about. I know that, a lot of the mobile home parks you have a certain percentage, I believe, of RVs, so a lot of times that is
So
possible.
just be first.
But, what's that?
Just be one of the first in.
But yeah, zoning department, they would help you out with that question.
Yeah.
Zoning for a meeting. Can you have them here next week?
That would save all the trouble.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, that's a good point, we can do that.
Are they gonna be here next week then?
We will,
I have the
we'll
same
look into
question.
it. We'll put them
That's what I
on the list, come on down, and we'll invite them the way we invite everybody else.
Thank you. So, are you not zoning? I thought part of your role.
No, we are not zoning, we are floodplain management. We are the flood department, and we know the flood zone regulations, because they are higher regulations than areas that are not in what we call the special flood hazard area. So that's our expertise, is our floodplain ordinance.
Okay. So our property, they put a lock on for any permit pulling. So I guess this is for Bill and Jessica, this question. So if it's determined that,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to answer that gentleman's last question. Where do you go? Is it okay, Linda had just reminded me that there is a federal law that allows you to bring in an emergency situation, allows you to bring an RV, the state law, excuse me, an RV in for, what was it?
What about permanent?
For 3 years. So that's a possibility.
I'm a snowbird, so I can break down each winter. And use it as a parking spot.
okay, that's all right. So anyway,
Sorry about that.
That's fine. We've been advised that we are out of compliance because our costs exceed the 50% rule. So they put a lock on our permitting process, so we're not able to get any permits or anything. So we've done research on the raising of the house, and it could be upwards of $100,000. So Manatee County is essentially holding our house hostage from a financial perspective, because what if we're unable to afford to raise the house? You've locked us for any permitting, so we can't fix anything. Now we have a damaged, dilapidated structure, and we can't do anything about it. So what happens then?
Well, we're looking into different options, but the rule is kind of the rule. It's if the structure has been substantially damaged and to repair it goes over the 50% of the amount of the value of the structure, there's really no wiggle room. That's what the regulation is.
So I get that, but what are your solutions from a county perspective? Right, you're taxpayer funded, you're supposed to be representing the taxpayers. So what are your solutions for people who can't afford the cost of compliance?
Well, that's why we brought...
FEMA's not helping. FEMA will not help. We have insurance, but it's not enough insurance, right? So the cost to repair our home far exceeds what we can pay for with insurance and out of pocket. And I think it's going to be probably 80-20 rule, right? Maybe 20% of the people can afford it, 80% cannot potentially. So now are you going to rezone this part to residential homes? What's the time frame that we have to try to comply before you start condemning homes?
Well, we haven't condemned your home.
Not yet, but what's the time frame?
Yeah, you have. You condemned everybody's home with these rules.
Well, these rules have been in place since...
It used to be an RV park.
Insurance program, which was in 1974.
But you're making it financially impossible
For anybody to fix their home.
Let's, if you want to ask a question, we just would ask that you...
I'm making a statement.
Okay, but your statement's incorrect. We have, Manatee County has not condemned any homes.
You made it impossible for anybody in here to fix their home with this 50-50 rule.
Yeah, you push people off, they're not worth it.
Well, they're only honest people that are actually going to get...
Okay, listen, we're gonna be nice and we're gonna play nice. Okay, but if you wanna make a statement, come down, you can get in line, and we'd like to hear everything. This is so that people on the board can also hear you, okay?
I'm sure they heard me.
Well, you're probably right, but we understand the frustration. That's why people are, the cane that's virtual, they'll let you know about the SBA loans. And I understand money might be tight already, but there is money out there for you to get a loan and be able to elevate, or get a loan.
Excuse me, can I interject here? This is John from the SBA.
Yes.
I heard the gentleman's question. When you apply for an SBA loan and let's say you were not approved, we send you back to FEMA for ONA, other needs assistance. So that might come into play if you do not get a loan with us, and that other needs assistance, I would let my colleagues from FEMA tell you more about that. But once again, it is, you have to do your due diligence if you want to apply for a loan or not. So that's, once again, that's another caveat about the SBA loan program. Thank you.
Millie, are you there to answer questions about the other needs assistance?
Sure. So other need assistance are that category where I was referring earlier, that it has more of when it has to do with personal property, transportation, funeral assistance, medical assistance, dental assistance. So I guess to answer the specific questions of this person, I might have to probably look at the case and see exactly what is going on there. Because again, if it's not specific to any of these categories, I might have to just look at the case.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so going back to my question, what is the time frame that we need to have these updates and corrections and compliance met?
Well, we're still working on, we have, it's a huge county, and other parts of the county have also been affected. So we're looking at everybody, and we have to look at every structure individually. So I can't tell you exactly when we're going to be done looking at every structure individually, letting you know if they're substantially damaged.
I already know that we received that letter. My question is, before any action is taken by the county, what time frame do we have to make these repairs before it becomes, just property that's completely run down, vacant,
Did you say you got a letter from the county?
We did.
What
That
did the
we have
letter say?
substantial damage.
You got a letter, because we haven't sent out any letters
I
yet.
got it via email, saying that we are locked for
Oh,
permitting.
okay. Oh, so you didn't get a letter, you're saying that when you applied for the storm mobile home,
the
review, that's when it was denied. So you never got a letter of substantial damage. Just to clarify,
It's called a letter of substantial damage. I forwarded it to my insurance company.
Okay.
I have it in my email.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from or who or whatever. It was within 15, 20 minutes of me applying, literally. Pardon?
Are you in an unincorporated Manatee County?
I'm in Sunny Shores.
Because we haven't sent out any letters as of today.
Okay, well,
So I'm not sure why. If
Somebody's-
I'd like to see the letter that you actually received.
Sure.
If you-
But point being, I guess back to the questions here. There's going to be people here who cannot comply. So we're going to have a whole mobile part of trailers and homes that are out of compliance. What will the county do, and in what time frame do we have? I can't imagine you're just going to leave us all alone, right? And to say, okay, well, tend to your own properties and the time frames that you have. Can't imagine that, especially with all the construction and big homes going up around us. And prime property, waterfront real estate.
Yeah, we have a lot a lot to look at right now, so we haven't actually made that determination yet.
They don't want to put it on
Obviously,
record.
it's not something that can go on forever. Apparently, it needs a big.
An RV park.
It was about permits, and he's the one that does the permits, and I can't talk about the permits because it's a local thing.
You know, eventually we have to have compliance. The home either needs to come into compliance or it needs to be repaired to the condition it was before.
Yeah, we can't even put plywood down to walk on our floor.
Well, you're saying you have to apply before they can fix it.
apply, and then it has to be part of the rule, how much fixing, so they also have to know how much money they can put in to fix it before they even call you to apply to fix it. Otherwise, they're gonna be afraid to lose the whole thing.
Again, I really can't hear you that well, so if you want to come on the speaker.
So they're saying that if they're putting a certain amount of money in,
Hold on a second.
are they gonna be able to fix it?
There's people that have been in line.
Oh, I
Let's
get
do
it.
it respectfully.
But it's
to
a
everyone.
clarification for the young lady asking, you're not getting her clarification on her question, so we're all trying to help you all understand what she's asking.
She's correct.
Okay, so what is your question?
Okay, it doesn't sound as if you have an answer, but with the federal, state, local requirements for compliance, what's the subsidy gonna be for people who can't afford it? So you said eventually we'll need to all be compliant, so what if we can't be? What is the county, local, state going to do to help?
Well, again,
Outside of FEMA.
Again, as far as any, external assistance, you need to go to those appropriate agencies. I know with your insurance, on your flood insurance, you have increased cost of compliance where you get money from the insurance company that you could put towards bringing the home into compliance. But as soon as you know what the cost of your home is going to be to repair it, you can send that information to us, and we will be turning it around within a day or so.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of
But
people
you
behind
can't,
me.
but what you can't do, and I think what you were asking the question is that the NFIP, you're not allowed to phase work. So it needs to be completed to the exact condition where it was before it was destroyed. So you can't come in and just say, I just have a little money and I'm going to do the electrical work, and I'm going to come in a month later and do this work. Because we do have a 1-year cumulative in our ordinance where you have to wait a year once you get up to that 50% amount.
Okay, so I'll let everybody else talk. I just want to know what I'm supposed to do next.
Actually, I was the one who reviewed your application, and the contract that you sent did have a cost to partially elevate as well. So had you taken that portion out and just done the repairs, you would have come under the 50%.
No, that's not all inclusive. We have a roof, we have a kitchen, we have HVAC, we have electrical. That was a very small portion of the repairs. That was our initial repair estimate, not our total. So our total far exceeds the 50% rule.
And that's the information that we need to get then in the future.
Okay.
Make sure that it is all inclusive. So
Well,
that
it still exceeds 50%. It still doesn't answer my question of, now that everything's locked, what do we do?
We're working on that. I wish I could give you a clear, definite answer of what is going to happen to every single person in this room and how they can solve their problems, but I cannot do that at this moment.
Do we know when we'll have answers?
As soon as we have answers, we're going to let everybody know. Just the same way here, where we can bring together the people that can help, assist. But we're the building department. We're the floodplain management. We look, we study, we know the regulations. We don't have access to available aid for people. That's our jurisdiction is in regulations and the National Flood Insurance Program, our floodplain ordinance. That's our department.
Well, thank you.
Hi. Just to follow up on hers, doesn't the county have the ability to modify that ordinance? Because,
Our ordinance is based on federal, state, and NFIP regulations. Part of the reason why we have a floodplain ordinance is because we participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. And so our higher regulations equal 25% off the entire county of their flood insurance off the top. That is why we participate in this. We've always participated in it, and I would have to go look back, maybe in the 80s is when the commissioners decided to join the National Flood Insurance Program. And it was voted on, and that's what we've been going on since then.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying they still have the ability to modify it.
Not really, because if we modify it, then we have it at the level to get everybody 25% off their flood insurance. So if you're asking, can we make exceptions for people in our ordinance? No.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if we could modify the ordinance. What if they
What
wanted
do you want to
to?
modify?
Well, I'm saying, what if we didn't care about the 25% flood insurance rule? What if we didn't care about the 25% discount? Could the county modify that? And how do we do it?
It's kind of a multi-part question you're asking. The county as a whole made a decision back, I believe it was in 1970-something, so 1974, that they wanted to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. This way, residents were able to, be able to obtain insurance, whereas otherwise they would not be able to. And this insurance is subsidized by the U.S. government. Now, the county also participates in the CRS program, the Community Rating System, and in it, we, by putting regulations in place, we get certain percentage off on our insurance. So every citizen in Manatee County, whether or not they're in a flood zone or not, get an additional 25% off on their insurance. We can't go in there and make exceptions, because then we'd be basically in violation of our ordinance and the National Flood Insurance Program, and then the whole county was pretty much suspended or kicked off the program, and nobody would be able to get insurance. So there's really, there's no exceptions. I mean, there's exceptions to, if you have maybe a designated historic structure, you can get a variance for that. Or if you were cited for some kind of a health violation or a fire violation before the damage occurred, you can get variances for that. But other than that, no. The purpose of it is to eventually bring, everybody into compliance and to, make a more flood resilient community.
Okay, so how about the time frame to do the work? Like, what if I want to wait to do my work until prices drop? What if I want to wait for supplies to go down and I want to do it in a year?
Well, right now, as of today, we don't have a time frame on it.
But you're saying that you can add a time frame at any time, even though it's not in the original ordinance.
We're going to look into that.
So why can't you add other stipulations?
Well, such as what?
I mean, such as determining the value differently, like, as far as just everything across the board, if you can add something to limit us to when we can make those repairs, then why can't you change, like, the estimated value, let's say? Or let's say I hire someone to do the work and they charge $15 an hour, and I submit that bid. Is that going to be an issue?
No.
Okay, but the homeowner, we're going to say the flat rate for them is $30 an hour. Why?
If it's a contractor and it's a
Well,
trade.
they don't have to be licensed for everything. They only have to be licensed contractors to do certain things.
Right.
Like roofs, those have to be licensed. The other ones can be handymen. It could be anyone.
That's why we have the SNA record that you can apply for online.
Yes, I understand.
Why not? Because we are beholden as a county to provide for everybody in the entire county, and part of that is is that we are required to monitor our flood zones everywhere. It's a national flood insurance program. This goes all over the United States. This is the same requirements. Most counties have the same requirements and jurisdictions to be a part of the national flood insurance program.
Give me a second. A couple things. So we are not trying to do this to hurt anyone. This is the county's obligation and requirements, okay? I know it's hard. I know it sucks. It does. Okay, I'm getting to that. It is our requirements that we have to do. And yes, in previous storms we were lacking. And I am aware, but just because we did it wrong in the past doesn't mean we can keep doing it wrong.
But you said it's been that way since 1974.
The regulations have been there since
So you're
1974.
just implementing them now, at the worst time ever. You're the residents that need to do the
We
work.
have always, when available.
Okay, so those people, the rules didn't apply to them. But now, when the people here need it the most, literally needed the most, the communities that needed the most, that need to put the sweat equity in, you're gonna hold them to that accountability, but you weren't gonna do it, even though the rule was in place since 1974.
I have to look back on that. Our department has only been, most of us have only been there for
Well, and if it was a regulation and you didn't do it, wouldn't that already void your 25%? Who do we report that to? Who do we report that to? Because who cares? Who cares about that? So if you didn't do it before, why haven't you been fined and, why is the ordinance even still in place? Because you've already broken the rules.
Great question.
And we've had a change of management, and we're trying to do right now. You may not care about the 25% discount in your personal thing. However, if we get kicked out of this program, that's just over $2
Why weren't you kicked out already? You already haven't abided the rules. Why weren't you kicked out already? Well, I do know that because it didn't apply during the other hurricanes. So we do know that.
So
these rules didn't apply to those people when these things happened.
The staff at that time did not, I don't know.
Okay, so then,
That wasn't the requirement.
but you broke the regulation, so who does that get reported to?
Breaking the regulation.
No, what I'm saying is that you should do the right thing, right? Overall, the right thing. And the right thing is, why would we apply it now if we didn't apply it before? And if there's a penalty or something to be lost, it should have been lost from the other ones, from when you made the mistake.
So us losing this 25%, which is over $2 million to residents, also will invalidate government funding. So anyone who has...
But honestly, if it was reported for the government funding already, you wouldn't have it. Because you already broke the rule.
So, anyone who is in the flood zone, who has a loan on their property, would lose their loan.
Okay. I understand that, but what I'm saying is you already broke the rules. So why not?
Anybody broke any rules? That was one individual who said, why doesn't it apply to my daily?
It didn't apply to those though.
We weren't, yeah.
Okay, so let's just move past that because we're not going to agree. So what about the cost of the homeowner doing the project? Are you automatically assigning them the $30 or if they're charging a reasonable rate, is that okay?
If you can provide documentation of a comparable, this is what it would cost for a professional to do this work, we will take that.
And by professional, you mean, you can hire a handyman so long as it's not something that's...
You give me a handyman quote saying this is what the cost and the value is, we will take that.
Okay.
So somebody agrees for cheap. I think it's a question.
Yeah.
If she hires a handyman, I apologize for butting in. If she hires a handyman who agrees to work cheap, like $15 an hour, will that be accepted? I think that's her question.
That's the value of their labor.
Right. Now, some of the values are free.
The value versus cost.
It's not up to me, it's the community can decide.
So the community can decide.
Certain things, but if the rule says it is.
Okay, in the state of Florida, you are required to have a licensed contractor for certain trades. If you're gonna submit a quote from handyman at a rate of $10 an hour, and that handyman is not licensed to do that particular trade, we won't accept that contract.
Yes, but you don't have to be licensed to do different, I mean, yeah, for the roof, for the AC, for the electrical, for the plumbing, yeah. But you don't need it for drywall, you don't need it for other things like that. That's not a there's not a permit required
When
for
you're
that.
saying other things like that, if you're just saying drywall in itself, yeah.
Drywall, paint, yeah, handyman can
Right,
do all of that.
correct.
Yeah, handyman can do floors, handyman can do cabinets.
The 30 is supposed to be a low-ball estimate. Yes, there are trades that can do it lower. So if you can get a quote for drywall at $15 an hour, as long as it is signed by the homeowner and it's on their letterhead, we're going to take it.
Okay, thank you.
If you can provide proof that that is what the value of that work labor is, that's why we do it very well. We don't have anything in this, and it's juicy as this.
Hi, so, I have not had a loss, but I've helped it as a friend, different people who have, mainly elderly people. So, what if you have a home, like this one lady in her home was like 2 foot of water, and she was totally uninsured, no homeowners, no flood, no nothing. So FEMA gives her some money, I don't know, whatever, $50,000, and she just wants to sell her house, what happens? Can she keep that money, or how does that work? FEMA. Hello?
Hello.
This is Millie.
Yeah, do you need me to repeat the question?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the person was uninsured and they received certain amount of money and now they don't want to go back to the house. Can they keep the money?
Yeah, and this is hypothetical because this lady has not been told how much money she's gonna get from FEMA. She's had her inspection, but just say she gets, $50,000. Okay, this lady definitely is not and cannot repair her house, okay? Even if she had $1 million, she just isn't, whatever. So if she just wants to take the FEMA money and sell her house as is, can she keep that FEMA money? Even though FEMA gave it to her to repair the house?
Let me read real quick here and I'll get back to you real quick.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. Can I go ahead and ask other questions?
Yes, we're running short on time, we have to schedule for 2 hours.
I'm trying to be as fast as I can, and I think this is gonna help, I think it's gonna help other people, okay. So, and I kind of know the permitting process, so you mentioned earlier that to be excluded from the 50% rule, appliances can because they are personal property, not attached to the real property, right?
Yeah, but
okay.
there's, if you can put it in the back of the truck, is
Right.
how I always done it.
Okay.
If you pick it up and put it in the truck, it's a plug and play.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking other things possibly could be excluded from the 50-50. What about flooring?
No, we actually, if you're interested in exactly in the long version of the substantial improvement, substantial damage deaths reference, it's actually if you go to mymanatee.org.
Okay.
And you click on the button, I've had flood damage, and you scroll to the bottom of the page, all that information is going to be there, including the FEMA desk reference to substantial improvement, substantial damage reference, and all the rules are laid out right there.
Okay, I mean, I'm just saying, what if somebody says, you know what, I've got concrete floors, I'm just gonna live with that. I don't wanna do flooring.
Okay, so.
Say they had carpet or something like that. So what if you say, I don't want carpet, I'm just gonna live with concrete floors?
It's fine, but you've got to put the cost in to just put it in that, for the estimate.
Okay, so the paperwork has to assume you're putting carpet back in.
Right, but you don't have to.
Oh my gosh, okay.
It's rough, we understand it's rough, we know it's rough, and we're so sorry that Manatee County got smashed with 3 hurricanes in a row that have done devastating damage, more than any of us have ever seen.
And I understand legally, I understand the situation you're in. So what if somebody decided, okay, I had, X amount of cabinetry before, and I only want half that amount? Can they do that and stay under the 50% rule?
No, whatever you had before the storm hit.
Okay.
Is what you have to put in.
Can you put lesser quality cheaper? Would that work?
No, you have to use whatever you had as the estimate. Now, when you actually put it back, you can use whatever you need to use. Or you just have a concrete floor.
Okay. Let me see what else. Oh, okay. People have been saying, what about getting FEMA trailers? So you mentioned that somebody could get a trailer or an RV, put it in their house legally for 3 years, even if they're not zoned for it.
Yes, but it was, so if they're going to repair their home.
Right.
So there is a state bill 250, Senate bill 250 out there that I haven't fully read and digested, but that's what the intent was for 3 years, to be on your own property.
Okay.
But now that's not a FEMA trailer, that's one that you own, an RV that you own.
Okay.
Or go buy to, live
All right,
in.
and I don't want to take anything else time, but.
Can I jump in? Sorry, this is
Yes.
FEMA. So just to add, that Senate bill has certain conditions that have to be met. We've just sent it to Linda as a quick back at the top of her inbox, so she has a Senate bill that she's sharing with the building official. So they need to take a look at the exact requirements of how that Senate bill would or would not apply to each of these situations. So I just wanted to let you know, we put that information in their hand, but I don't know that they can answer specific questions about it at this moment. But wanted to let you know that they're working on it.
Okay, first question. Use the term intended users, that Manatee County has to become an intended user of the property?
No, that's for the appraisal. For the private appraisal, if you get a private appraisal for your structure, the appraiser knows what that means. It means who's going to use this appraisal. That's the intended user that the
Okay, I
Manatee County.
misunderstood that. It sounded like they...
No, not for the property or anything. It's just who's going to look at this appraisal. Who is it intended for?
So the 50% goal on, hold on, I can't remember right now. So a lot of insurance has a separate amount of money allocated for code upgrades, what's it called, or compliance upgrades, I think you guys call it. So if you guys are talking about flood insurance or flood compliance, so is the rest of the structures, if it goes over 50%, the entire dwelling has to be brought up to the code.
Yes.
You're saying flood code, but does that include all the other parts of the code? Building code, electrical code, everything. So the entire structure is not just being brought up to flood code, it's being brought up to all compliance, right?
If we're talking about a mobile home that's certified by DOT or manufactured home, then it doesn't fall under the Florida building code.
But a dwelling that does, single family residence, then it would have to be brought up in all compliance, not just flood compliance, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. But it may not be that you need to bring the entire structure up to code. It depends upon what level of alteration it is. So it's a case-by-case basis. So just because your first floor, maybe electrical got severely damaged, it doesn't mean that you have to bring the top floor up to code. But it's on an individual basis, based upon.
So a portion of the house gets grandfathered in, is that what you mean?
It's not, I don't like using the word grandfather, it's a case-by-case basis. In the building code, existing building code, when we do alterations or damage repairs, things like that, they classify it as either an alteration 1, an alteration 2, an alteration 3, and each depends upon the amount and the extent of the work that's being done. An alteration 1, when you just replace it, just say finishes and things like that, you don't have to bring, hardly anything up to the current code.
We're talking about going over the 50% and having to be brought into full compliance.
Well, you
So
can't.
it's just flood compliance?
Yeah, well, if you're going over
Not
the.
going to be brought in the other stuff?
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis, but if you're going over the 50% rule, then you're gonna have to bring pretty much probably the whole structure into compliance.
So in all compliance?
Yeah, to answer your question, not probably yes.
So if say you do an addition that's more than 50% of the original dwelling, and you have battery-operated fire detectors, you have to bring, and you're gonna put in hard wires on, then you have to do the entire existing structure in if you're more than 50% of the area, right?
Are you doing a lateral addition, or are you just doing a grade addition?
Well, I'm just saying that it's, the 50% goes in another direction. But, so it does include everything, right? Not just
Yeah.
flood. Is that?
Yeah, it's on a case-by-case basis. I mean, you really, you know, have to see what the plans are that you plan
So
on doing.
other upgrades to get in compliance with other roads, like other departments, right? Is there a separate amount of money allocated for code upgrades that doesn't get applied to the total?
No, not under the 50%.
Okay, so then it's still gonna, any other stuff that's been brought up to get compliant, all of it, not
Yeah.
just the flood stuff.
Correct.
But it's for flood insurance, right? That's where the money's coming from.
No. I'm getting off.
The money's coming from flood insurance, correct?
So again, flood insurance and regulations are two different things. So, yeah, so if you replace your AC, it goes towards the 50%. If you do an addition, it goes towards the 50%, regardless of storm damage. So bringing any of that up. Now, if you're asking about getting claims for insurance and money from insurance, then we're gonna have to defer that to FEMA.
So that's the second part of the question. If FEMA has a separate amount of money allocated, does FEMA have a separate amount of money allocated for the additional code upgrades that get absorbed into it?
Yeah, and we're gonna have people start calling off, because of the time frame.
We did have this set for 2 hours, so that's kind of why we wanted the line instead of yelling, because that causes distractions. But so as fast as we can do this.
Very quick.
Yeah.
What if I don't want any FEMA money, I just want my home back? Can I go ahead and demo, rebuild, and no one knows?
We know all the structures that are out there that have been damaged. And you still need a permit for that, and if you demoed and created a new structure, you would have to follow today's codes.
What if I did? Would I be fined later? Or don't come code enforcement and say, you did a bad thing?
Probably, if you're demoing a structure and you're rebuilding it without any permits, yes, that would probably cause a problem for you.
Okay.
I have a question for FEMA. How long, if you take money from FEMA, how long do you have till you have to pay the premium? Well, I got money for a Dahlia, and I've been turned down 3 times because that's $4,000.
I would suggest if you'd have to, that's not a question that the county can answer.
Well, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, but like she said, they're probably gonna start dropping off because we did have this scheduled for 2 hours, but you can always go to the
I had a FEMA
agricultural
representative in
center.
my house Saturday.
Okay.
He told me that's the reason I was turned down.
Okay. Disaster Recovery Center can help you with that. We can't help you with what FEMA or insurance or anybody else.
FEMA's on? Okay.
Yeah, there's also, keep in mind, these specific questions for FEMA or for insurance. There's the Disaster Recovery Center. We have a flyer here which gives all the conversation, and gives all the areas that they're located. But the county can't answer questions for FEMA.
Okay, yeah, I'm just checking, like, Sunny Shores, every house needs to be evaluated.
Yes.
So what is the process? I know, people came through and they were gonna take pictures of the outside, and they asked me, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take pictures of the outside. If people say, yeah, I do mind, I don't want any pictures, and do they have to come to the inside, do they come down?
No, it's already been, Sunny Shores has already been completed, Paradise Bay has already completed, we have the entire county to do, the entire county, right?
And
All the houses.
how did you do the assessment of each individual?
Okay, so if you go online, it shows the list of steps that we take, and the first step is that immediately after storm, code enforcement goes out and does a generic, what we call windshield assessment, and it's called damage assessment, and they know areas that have been hit hard. And then those places that have been hit hard or affected, they get another view by who we have now, which is we've asked for help from the Florida Division of Emergency Management through a mission, because we don't have the type of staff that can do this, because it's so much damage, right? So they have gone out and they've gone what we call a substantial damage assessment, where they take a closer look at each structure. Outside. And there's telling signs with every structure. There's water lines, there's what does this structure look like, what does this structure look like, what does this structure look like. You can see damage visually. You can see it. Okay?
And if you've lost a carport and you don't care to have a carport again, you're still required to do that.
No, if you don't want your carport anymore and you take it away, you're not required to put a carport back there if that's not what you want.
So you're telling me you can see damage visually by looking at the outside of my house?
We can tell a lot of these people have been doing this so long. The people that
Okay, who are these people?
Ask your question.
No, who are these people that are doing this? Who is this property appraiser? Who is this person? If you're going to appraise my house, I want to know who is appraising my house, and I want to be there when you're going to do it.
Okay, so it's probably already been done. I'm not sure where you're
Oh, I know it's
located.
been done.
But
Where I'm located is irrelevant. I want to know who's appraising my house.
we do missions, but they're called missions, and we go through our emergency management division.
What person?
And what we do is we contact FEMA.
You're not answering my question.
I'm trying to, sir. And
You're walking around the question.
no, I'm telling you the whole story.
I don't need the whole story. I need the answer to the question.
We go through.
You can't assess the damage to my house just by looking at a water line.
Okay, thank you.
Ask the question you were going to ask. Ask the question. I want to know the answer to that question. Ask the question. Who does it though? Why do we
doing this again next week.
So there's an office that they can appeal to and say, I've heard that you made these assessments and they don't.
You don't like what the damage assessment is? Yes, of course you can.
Okay, that's what they need.
The question was if we're required to raise, how many feet would that be? That was
Everything is subjective because base flood elevations change, ground elevations change.
so zone A. What's zone A? What's
There is flood zone A does not have to be entered. There's flood zone A, there's AE, there's BE, there's coastal A zone, there's floodway, and there's
several different locations.
Yes.
yes.
There's multiple
So
flood
some
zones.
people only have to raise a foot, some people might have to raise 6 feet.
So folks, there's obviously a lot of information, there's clearly a lot of frustration. We will continue to advocate for Sunny Shores, for Cortez. Their offices are available. You can schedule a time and engage with them one-on-one, call them by phone. We will have the follow-on meeting next Wednesday. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. FEMA couldn't be here present. They will be here next week. So we're working on that. We'll continue to advocate. Okay?
Again, thank you all for being patient. A lot of these questions need to be addressed on a one-on-one basis, and that's what we hope to provide this week. Thank you very much.
Hopefully you guys were able to get that information and hear it. I'll be saving the video and uploading it again, and we'll see you next week.